Yo, 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 what up, ladies and gentlemen? This is your boy Chris B. Daniels back at it again on another episode of Show and Talk. So, if you're not following me, make sure you do. YouTube, World Rule Talk, Facebook, Chris B. Daniels, Instagram, World Rule Talk. So, today, I want to loop back around the movie I talked about a while ago. Um, this is probably the only movie I've seen more than once in the past 2 years, and it's worth it. You know what I'm saying? It's really worth it. Um, First time I seen it, yo, it hit the hell out of me. Like I didn't know what to expect as far as the villain or who the mystery person was that was terrorizing these people. So I had to watch it a second time, man, just to get that shock value again. Um, I know some of you might have seen it. It's on Tubi. It's called Better Watch Out. So this is actually a Christmas movie. But I didn't care. I decided to go ahead and watch it again because like I said, the shock value was there, considering who the villains were in this movie. So we are introduced to our characters. There's this babysitter named Ashley who has to babysit this boy for the night. His name is Lucas. And so, well, it's Luke, but anyway, um, when she pulls up at the house, Luke's father, when he's talking to her, he says a couple of questionable things to her, but anyway, the mother is basically giving her, instructions on, how to manage Luke and everything. And then she has this pencil trick where she puts it on the doorknob to make sure he doesn't come out the room. And if the pencil falls off the knob, then she know he left the room. So while they're downstairs talking to Ashley, Luke and his friend Garrett, they're upstairs talking about girls and this and that. You know what I'm saying? So Gary, he has to leave for the night. And then when the parents leave, Luke, now this kid right here, the whole time he was trying to get those cheeks, you know what I'm saying? Like from this grown woman. You know what I mean? And, you know, she 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 put the foot down, you know what I'm saying? She was telling him that the things that he was doing was inappropriate and everything. So if he was, starting to feel some type of way. But then he thought he was cool when he started drinking alcohol straight from the bottle. You know what I'm saying? And so she wasn't feeling that either. So as they sat down to a movie and they had a mystery, I look it's a mystery pizza delivery. Luke said he didn't order it and neither did her. So Luke paid for the pizza anyway. And so as they're watching the movie, they start to hear noises outside, like outside of the house. And so Ashley, she's becoming a little freaked out. And Luke, based on the way he was acting through most of it, he was acting kind of indifferent. You know what I'm saying? Like it wasn't really bothering him too much. So she made him turn the TV off so she can hear what's going on outside. And so eventually they, get a knock at the front door. And so they go to the front door. Ashley looks out the peephole. She doesn't see anybody. And then they hear another knock at the front door. So Luke, he winds up opening the door, and it turns out it was his friend Garrett. He came back to the house. And so at this point, Ashley's pissed off. She's asking Garrett why is he, running around the house or in the back of the house messing around, fooling around or whatever. And so Garrett told her he was never back there. And then that's when they hear glass breaking from upstairs. So Ashley decides to, go up there. And now I'm gonna pause for a minute because I need to talk about this. So considering the fact that these were two little, teenagers or whatever, and she was the babysitter, and she told them to stay downstairs while she goes up to investigate. In a real life situation, I don't think no one's going upstairs. Everybody's hauling ass out the house. You know what I'm saying? But she told them to stay downstairs while she goes up to investigate. So she makes her way upstairs, and then she turns around and see Luke and Garrett behind her. And so Garrett, he gets on the computer that Luke has in his room to try to contact the police, because Ashley, she didn't have her phone or whatever, because Luke, when she asked for her phone while they were still, looking outside the back window and all that, he accidentally threw it in the fish tank. So her phone was no longer working. And so they had to use Luke's computer to contact the police or whatever. And so they were starting to, it sounded like someone was in the house. And so Garrett, he gets freaked out and he runs out the house. But then he gets hit by something and he falls to the ground and he appears to be dead. And so Luke and Ashley, they retreat back into the house. And now it's a struggle for survival. So there's a guy that eventually breaks into the house and he's, looking all around the house for her and Luke. Now at this point right here, Luke is trying to play the brave one, the brave person, and Ashley, she's trying to be reasonable and tell him to stay close to her, so the killers won't find him or whatever. And then they're in his laundry room, and so they lock themselves in there. And so Luke tells Ashley that he has to go, get his parents' gun, his dad's gun, and he leaves Ashley in the laundry room. So not too long after that, Luke comes back with the gun. And Luke is telling her, that the guy is downstairs or whatever. And so they run out the laundry room into Luke's bedroom and they hide in the closet. So while they're in there, the killer comes into the room, looking around and all of that. But then Ashley recognizes, the ski mask or the toboggan or whatever that the killer or the robber had on his head. And it turned out, once again, it was Garrett. So at this point, Ashley's had enough. You know what I'm saying? Because whole thing was staged just so it can make Luke look, like he had some balls to protect Ashley, just so she'll fall for him. That was kind of stupid, but at the same time, I don't know. It was stupid. It was stupid. I got nothing for it, but then like I said, she had enough. So she was trying to send Garrett home, and she was going to call Luke's parents. Now, this is where she kind of fucked up at. You know what I'm saying? But at the same time, you can't blame her either for what's about to happen. So Luke chases her out the room, and he's begging her not to call his parents. And so eventually he knocks her out with the gun that he had. So when she comes to, she sees that she's tied up in this chair. And Luke and Garrett, they're talking. Garrett is riding around the house on a scooter. And Luke, he's setting up for what he's about to do. And so, at first Ashley didn't take them serious at all. You know what I'm saying? She just wanted to tell his parents what he done and all of that. And then I guess after that, let it go. But at this point, Luke was starting to take it to another level. And the reason why all of this was going on is because Ashley was talking to this guy and Luke was jealous. You know what I'm saying? That she was showing him, this guy, all of her attention and basically giving him none, other than the fact that she was just babysitting him. But Luke winds up texting her boyfriend to come over. You know what I'm saying? So at first he wanted Ashley to talk to him, but she refused. So the guy comes over, you know what I'm saying? He knocks on the door. Oh, no. I'll take that back. I'm sorry. The guy was coming over anyway. So he knocks on the door, but Luke tells him to go away. Ashley doesn't want to talk to him. And so the dude basically tricked Luke into opening up the door by, trying to hand him some flowers to get to Ashley. So when Luke cracked the door, the dude just broke in, barged in, but that was his mistake too. So Luke was trying to distract this guy, and Ashley was trying to get his attention, but she had tape over her mouth, so he couldn't quite hear it. Now I will say this though, the guy struck me like an idiot. You know what I'm saying? Because it was a couple red flags. For one, Garrett comes out of the kitchen when he was about to walk in there. You know what I'm saying? Just talking some bullshit. But again, I don't know if it was a red flag to him because I guess he didn't know what to expect. So he's walking around the house looking for Ashley, and he winds up going upstairs. And so Luke, he had grabbed this bat or whatever, and he hit the dude in the back of the head. You know what I'm saying? And so at this point, Luke is dancing around or whatever, thinking that the guy's knocked out. But then the guy, you know what I'm saying, he comes to, and Luke tries to hit him again with the bat, and the guy takes it and knocks Luke down. You know what I'm saying? So the dude is pissed off at this point. You know what I'm saying? And then he starts to attack Luke, and Luke takes the pencil that was on the doorknob of his room and stabs the dude in the cheek. And at this point, this is where the movie gets really real. So at this point, the dude is super pissed, and he grabs the bat and he tries to hit Luke. He was about to hit him with it. Damn, I'm over here jumbling my words. That's how excited I am about this movie, man. So, you know what I'm saying? Garrett comes out of nowhere with the other gun, you know what I'm saying? The shotty or whatever. And the guy, the boyfriend puts the bat down, and now he's tied up to the second chair right next to Ashley. So Garrett and Luke, they're over there, going back and forth because at this point, Garrett, he's not with none of this. You know what I'm saying? Like, he ain't feeling none of this. But he's only doing it because he's Luke's so-called friend, right? And so as those two are talking, Ashley, she finds a piece of glass, you know what I'm saying, from the champagne bottle that she broke earlier. You know what I'm saying? And she was cutting the tape off her wrist and her foot. You know what I'm saying? And Luke comes back in, and the boyfriend says something to him. And then so they roll him out into the hallway near the front door. And so this is the infamous scene right here. To me, man, I don't know about anybody else, but to me, this is the infamous scene. So Luke and Garrett, they were talking about something, I guess, in the past about a paint can, messing or killing somebody instantly or whatever. I don't know what they were discussing as far as that, but whatever it was pretty messed up, and Luke wanted to put it to the test. So he goes into a room. He gets this paint can full of paint now. Mind you, the can is not open. You know them paint cans are heavy as hell. Well, not heavy, but them shits weigh a good amount. They weigh a good amount. You know what I'm saying? So he gets this paint can, and he gets this rope. And he ties it to, the top of the stairs or whatever. And then he really, he throws down the paint can and it misses the dude. And so Luke is disappointed, you know what I'm saying? Because him and Garrett made a bet. And so Ashley managed to get herself free, and she runs into the living room with the gun pointing it at Luke. And you know what I'm saying? Luke, he didn't care. Like, this little kid was psycho. You know what I'm saying? He was psycho with the capital P. You know what I mean? And so, ignoring Ashley, he takes the paint can once again and throws it down. And this time it hits the dude directly in the face, killing him instantly. Like, it smashed his face in, basically. And Luke was celebrating this. Garrett, he was freaked out, but he was still participating. And Luke, he was celebrating. So Ashley pulls the trigger, and nothing came out. He took the bullets out. So then she tries to run away. You know what I'm saying? And then Garrett goes after her. But, Ashley at this point, she just looked at Garrett like, man, you just as bad as he is. This is when the Christmas carolers come to the door. and they're singing for, people next door, and then they come to the house where Luke is at. And so Garrett gets Ashley, and this time they tie her up in the attic. You know what I'm saying? So she's tied up. They tie her up with these Christmas lights, and they put the tape around her mouth once again. So practically, she was pretty much tied up through most of this movie. You know what I mean? I know that couldn't have been a good feeling throughout the making. I don't know, depending on how tight they had her bounded. But he wanted Ashley to call her ex. You know what I'm saying? So he could come over and he was going to get it too. Basically, anybody who she was with was going to get it because Luke didn't like the fact that she was talking to anybody else. So Luke, he gives the boyfriend a call. And at first, the guy didn't take him seriously, so he hung up the phone. And he called the guy back, and he told the guy what Ashley so-called said, which she didn't really say, but, he winds up, he convinces him to come over, right? And so, as he was looking through the windows trying to figure out what was going on, Luke comes out of nowhere while Garrett was still up there upstairs with Ashley. And, he wanted, for some reason, he told the guy to write down what he wanted to say to Ashley because I guess as per Ashley's request. Now, mind you, this little kid was setting all this up. So after the dude finished writing what he wrote, Luke, he had disappeared, and he came from behind a guy out of nowhere and strangled him and tied him up into the swing set. You know what I'm saying? Like he was hanging from the rope. And so basically the guy got hanged. You know what I'm saying? And so after this, we go back and we see Garrett. He's finally doing the right thing. Finally. So he decides to try to cut Ashley free. You know what I'm saying? But that didn't get too far because out of nowhere, Luke had the gun, the shotty, and shot Garrett for the, trying to free Ashley. And Luke is pissed. So he walks up to Garrett, and Garrett is shocked at this point. You know what I'm saying? That Luke had shot him. And so with no more care left, Garrett starts yelling out for help. And Luke shoots him again. This time, I think he shot him directly in the face, point blank range, and killed him instantly. And so it was just Ashley and Luke left. And so Ashley started ignoring Luke, causing him to go crazy. You know what I'm saying? That silent treatment is a bitch, though. Like, if anybody ignores you, you know what I'm saying, while you trying to talk to them about anything and they don't say a word, yeah, that silent treatment, yo. Yo, it's crazy. But anyway, so Luke had enough of that. And he pulls out this pocket knife and stabs Ashley in the neck. And now it appears she died from blood loss. And so his parents were on their way back home. And so at this point, Luke had to make it look like it was a robbery / murder. So what he did, he had set everything up. Like he had planned everything out right before his parents walked through the door. Like he even took the pencil, stuck it on the doorknob, went to another room, climbed out that window, went through his window and got in the bed. So when his parents walked in the house, all he heard was his mother screaming. And so she came into the room to check on her son. And it appeared, you know what I'm saying, he made it look like he was asleep the whole time. So she told him what was going on. Then the cops came, and then they found all the dead bodies or whatever. And he thought he got away with it. And then he heard one of the officers outside yelling that one of them was still alive, which obviously we already know it was Ashley based on what he did. You know what I'm saying? So while he was looking out the window, he looked kind of defeated. You know what I'm saying? He looked defeated. And Ashley looked up at the window. She spotted him, and she gave him the finger. And that was pretty much the end of the movie. So my thing is, my take on this movie, he better hope she passed away in the hospital, because if she recovered, oh man, Luke, he was fucked. You know what I'm saying? He was done for. Like, the movie goes off after that. We don't know, what happened. She might have survived. She might not have. You know what I'm saying? We don't know. But yeah, this kid was a problem. You know what I mean? Like, and I think he was supposed to be what, 12, 13, something like that. Now just imagine when he grew up. You know what I mean? He would have been an even bigger problem. But this movie was great, in my opinion. You know what I'm saying? In my opinion, the movie was good. The acting was good. You know what I'm saying? I had no complaints about the movie. I liked it. You know what I mean? That's why I watched it twice in less than 2 years. But y'all need to check it out though. It's called Better Watch Out on Tubi. And if I gotta give this movie a grade, I will give it a it's kind of hard between 8 and a 9. I'm gonna have to give it. I'll give it an 8.5. We'll meet in the middle. You know what I'm saying? But this movie is great. You gotta check it out. But that's pretty much it. If you're watching this on YouTube, like I said, give me a like, comment, and subscribe, and I will greatly appreciate you folks. And I will talk to y'all later. All right? Peace.
The feeling is mutual. Come in, take a seat, share your thoughts with each, and preach it when you speak, so we can share kinetic energy throughout the brainwave. Keep us balanced out and all on the same stage.